Maria Callas's greatest glory came during the mid-1950s at Milan's La Scala Opera House. One of Italy's foremost film and stage directors, Luchino Visconti, who had long resisted directing opera, changed his mind because there was a new Maria Callas, a slender and glamorous Callas. Together, Callas and Visconti made operatic history. Their first collaboration was Spontini's La Vestale in 1954, followed by La Sonnambula in 1955, conducted by Leonard Bernstein.
First of all, I must say about Luchino, he is a gentleman. I was thoroughly spoiled by him before we even started working together, because he was, the Grand Seigneur was treating the prima donna so lavishly, and I felt that. He made a point of pointing it out, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. He taught me something without his knowing it. The less I move without evident reason, the more it is my own personality. He was perfect. To me, to the mise en scène, to the way he moved the chorus. He made no mistake that he could reproach himself, that we could reproach him, and that the public could reproach him.
When I prepare a role in the beginning, the outline is, this is how she's supposed to move because this is her background and culture or whatever it is.
The main thing, I believe, is not the libretto, is mainly, though I give enormous attention to the words, I try to find truth in the music. you take the music and you learn it as you were in the conservatoire. In other words, exactly as it's written, nothing more and nothing less, which is the phrase that I call straitjacketing. The conductor gives you his cuts. If you have cadenzas, he gives you ideas about what his cadenzas would be. And his cadenzas, I mean, are never his if he's a conscientious conductor. He always builds his cadenzas according to the taste and the liking and the particular makings of the composer. If you're dealing with sentiments, with characters, with music, let us deal with less florid things, or rather, let us use embellishments to the service of expression. If you care that much for the composers and not for your own private success, you will always find a trill or an embellishment or a scale that justifies a feeling of happiness or of unhappiness, of uneasiness, anxiety.
When Callas became familiar with the music and its possibilities, the notes themselves had to be conquered.
Then you learn the roll exactly as ABCD. When you've learned that, you try to speak it to yourself, as you have the recitative. They are the introductions to the arias. Once upon a time, 150 years ago, the public just used to walk out, eat, laugh, and would come in for the big pieces. Thank heavens now they don't. Once you learn how it's written, and the exact value of each note and each phrase, then, and this I have learned from Serafin in occasion of my Norma, so he said, very well, you know the music perfectly well. Now you go home, my dear Miss Callas, and speak it to yourself. And let's see with what proportions, with what rhythm you come back to me tomorrow.
Rehearsals with the orchestra were the next step.
With a lot of quarreling between the conductor and the stage director. No, this is my rehearsal. No, this is my rehearsal. Up to this point, we have not sung the opera and performed the opera straight through. You should measure your strength, where you can rest, where you can get away with lots of things. You really have to exactly know where you stand. I have a way of my own. This way I've learned from my teacher, Hidalgo, and also from Serafin. They have taught me, and life has taught me, that the last act is the most important. Because no matter how much and how well you've sung, if the last act is not superior to all the rest, well, you might as well not sing it.
As critic Winthrop Sargent wrote in the New Yorker magazine, Callas's voice is not pure innocent. Pure innocent voices are a dime a dozen, but a fiery conveyance for female passion. In her approach, to act is to sing, and to sing is to act. The dramatic intensity she brought to bel canto music had become a lost art in our century. Even a popular opera like Lucia de Lammermoor, which had been reduced to merely a showcase for vocal display, became a dramatic tragedy when sung by Callas. Like Giuditta Pasta in the 19th century, for whom Donizetti had written Anna Bolena, and for whom Bellini had written Norma, Callas approached this repertory as great drama. Like Pasta and her contemporary, Maria Malibran, Callas's voice was a mezzo, extended upwards, and for some, like the evenness of registers, which had always been prized in singing. In compensation, Callas brought an excitement and a dramatic intensity to this music that had not been heard in over 100 years. In 1957, Callas was at the height of her artistic powers and had come a long way from the raw young singer who had made her debut in Verona a decade earlier.
In the beginning of your career, you can't get away with what you want, so you have to give the public a little bit of its desire. In other words, a very long held note and one of those things. But later, with the years, you tend to underact and underplay. Before you sing a phrase, You must always prepare it. Have it read in your mind. In other words, you think of the phrase, you prepare it on your face, and then you actually perform it. And this goes on in any opera and whatever opera you do.
Under Visconti's direction, Callas's Violetta in La Traviata was one of her greatest creations. Callas was joined in this production by tenor Giuseppe Di Stefano. Violetta was a character for whom Callas had a close affinity, and she found that many of her own emotions paralleled those of Violetta.
She's younger, she's more enthused, but she was already unhappy and bitter in the first act, and it comes back all the time saying, "Oh, love, what do you want love of me?" And in fact, when the tenor goes and old people go away, she keeps on saying, "Well, it's very funny that this phrase should always come back." The second act, she's not laughing anymore, she's sincerely hoping. This is my psychology, that in the first act she says, "Oh, well, let's try, probably." Oh, laughing, no. The second act, she doesn't laugh. She sincerely hopes. She's sure that it is true, that it has come true. And as soon as Germont comes in and tells her the problems of life, well, she immediately has, she knows she's lost also on account of her health.
Appearing with Callas as the elder Germont was baritone Ettore Bastianini.
the novel, she never saw him come back. He found her dead. He had to, in fact, unbury her. In the opera, of course, he manages to come back and she dies in his arms. Now, I have found through Luchino Visconti's production that the less I moved, the better it was.
Without the critics knowing it, I had a compliment paid to me. The critics said that Callas in Traviata appeared to us tired, and especially in the last act, because I struggled so hard to find this particular rather little tired quality that I wanted. I had preferred also a sort of a useless movement, a useless gesture like trying to get the mirror or something on the dressing table and not being able to, and always just dropping the hand.
As with many of her roles, Callas experimented with her characterization of Violetta throughout her career.
With the years, you even can change hairdos, you can change costumes. My Traviata has changed frequently. My Norma, more or less, not much. It has, but not that much. Medea has changed. Later on, that if I created a softer hairdo and a softer appearance, that I might really create her as more of a woman, a living woman.
But as evil as was Callas's Medea, and as moving as was her Violetta, it is as the Druid priestess in Bellini's Norma that Callas is at her most unforgettable.
I don't say she resembles me, or maybe yes, in a certain way. I mean, she's very strong. In other words, she just roars like a lion, but actually she's not. Is only a consequence, rather a straight line of singing, which of course is very difficult also, because after these strong, powerful recitatives, you have to keep the line very peaceful and very nearly silvery.
Even though Callas had become the most famous prima donna in the world, she remained the complete professional, one aware of her limitations and anxious to improve.
You grow into habits like hanging on to words. For instance, if you say casta diva, you can't, if you speak casta diva, you can't say casta diva. Or you sing the same way. You can't say casta diva che in argenti. On stage, you get into these bad habits.
It was as Norma that Callas finally made her much-awaited debut at the Metropolitan Opera in the fall of 1956. It was preceded by an unflattering cover story in Time magazine, which rehashed all of the Callas clichés: the temperamental soprano, the difficult colleague, the rivalry with Tebaldi, her quarrels with her mother.
I suppose I did have a bit of, shall we call it bad publicity, some articles against me, but I must say I was most happy at the Met.
When it came to her voice, it was clear she knew it was a controversial sound.
Some people say I have a beautiful voice, some people say I have not. It's a matter of opinion. Some people say I have a unique voice, and some people say it's just a whole big lie. People who don't like me can just not come and hear me. As for unique, I don't know whether it is unique. I think it's not. I think I'm just doing what once upon a time was done. Once upon a time, sopranos were considered sopranos, not light or heavy or medium or whatever you call it. A soprano was supposed to do every kind of opera. It's like a violinist, a pianist, has to perform any kind of music.
Callas was asked to contrast singing at La Scala with performing at the Met.
On one side, I'm happier at the Scala because you see the Scala has more money. The Scala has, I can't say more tradition because the Metropolitan has an enormous tradition. I have sung there more. You see, at the Metropolitan, I have only had 2 months' work there. Forgive my word job because it's so vulgar. I have given birth to so many operas at the Scala, where at the Metropolitan, no. The opera house in itself is lovelier. The acoustic is much nicer. At the Met, unfortunately, we do not have a nice acoustic. And I'm afraid that's why I can't be very happy. You see, when you sing at the Metropolitan, you lose control of your voice because you don't hear it at all, so you force yourself. I will do my best to be happy at the Met, especially because the public has been so wonderful to me, and I've been so very happy with Mr. Bing.
A special air of anticipation can be felt throughout the Opera House, for we are about to hear the Metropolitan Radio debut of Maria Meneghini Callas. Miss Callas will be heard in the title role of Gaetano Donizetti's Lucia de Lammermoor, a work which is automatically associated with coloratura, virtuosity, and splendor. Mr. Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Cross, and good afternoon. In view of the fact that opera is an international art, I think it is extremely interesting to note that today's cast is international too. I'm sure you would like to meet them. First, Maria Meneghini Callas.
How do you do to you all? How do you do, Mr. Bing? Thank you. Not good at words, I suppose. The only thing I can say is to this vast, enormous public is that I hope I do, please you. I'm so happy to be with you today, especially in my own country. When I think that I stole so much of my homework just to listen to these Saturday broadcasts when I was a child, it's just, it gives me, I suppose, a bit the jitters to have to do it today, although I should be used to it. Anyway, I do wish to give you a hearty thanks and hello to the Greek part of my blood, that is to all the Greeks here, to the Americans, I'm born here, so I consider myself an American, and to the Italians, being an Italian wife. So thank you all, God bless you, and thanks again.
Thank you, Maria Callas. And now to the villain of this afternoon's performance, Enzo Sordello, who sings the part of Enrico.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Bing. È la prima volta che mi trovo negli Stati Uniti. Ne ho ricevuto una grandissima impressione.
Bing's introduction of Sordello as the opera's villain was more apt than he could have known at the time. A run-in between Callas and Sordello during the performance provided further fuel for the myth of Callas, the temperamental prima donna. She was not in her best form for the broadcast and had to clip short a high note at the end of her duet with Sordello. He, however, held on to his last note. Callas felt Sordello's conduct was unprofessional, given the circumstances, and protested to Bing, as did conductor Foster Kleva. Sordello was fired, and the incident resulted in another Callas scandal. Despite Callas's indisposition and the run-in with Sordello, her Lucia made an enormous impact on the Met's audience.
Miss Callas motions to Maestro Kleva as the audience shouts from the floor. She bows, and now she's throwing kisses to the audience. And she does all this in a sort of graceful, slow-motion style.
Hello? Hello, Maria Callas? One moment. Hi, Gardner calling.
Hello?
Hello.
Madam Callas, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Very happy to talk to you.
I am very happy to talk to you, and I hear you stopped the show last night at the Met Opera again.
Oh, how nice of you to say so. Thank you.
Do you sleep better after you stop a show?
Well, of course we do, though. You must remember...
In an effort to counter the bad publicity concerning her mother, Callas was even willing to subject her father to a television interview by columnist Hy Gardner.
I wonder if you'd hold that phone and put him on another phone right next to you, if you could.
Here he is. I'm afraid he's a very proud father. The only time we do quarrel is when he brags about me.
Fine. Has he gotten the phone yet, Mr. Callas? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Gardner.
Hello, how are you, Mr. Callas?
Fine, thank you. I am very glad to hear you.
I'm very glad to talk with you, too. Well, now, are you and Mama Callas divorced?
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Callas said the other day, and I'm quoting her now, I just want to see Maria, to embrace her and to kiss her. I will not mention money. Who wants money? I want my child's love. And then she said, and I'm quoting again, I read that a magazine has offered Maria $50,000 for her story. Why don't they give it to me? I have a grand story to tell. End the quote. Now, would you say that this is the way to win back a daughter's love?
I believe this attitude of mother, somebody else is behind her and does that.
I see. We had another quote here in which it was said, Maria herself was said that, and I'm quoting, my sister was slim and beautiful and friendly. I was the ugly duckling, fat and clumsy and unpopular. It's a cruel thing to make a child feel ugly and unwanted. If the quote is accurate, who made her feel unwanted?
Her mother does always. Sometimes I told to her, it's not good to treat the daughter this way. It is better thing to treat both like lovely daughters.
Well, I'm awfully glad you got on the phone because there are a number of these things that I know that I wouldn't want to ask Madame Callas about, and I hope, and do you think that sometime there may be a reconciliation?
Mr. Wagner, the time is the best doctor for everything.
Callas's break with her mother had come in 1950, following her first season in Mexico. To Callas, their estrangement was a private family matter.
I have never spoken against my mother, though I could have. So it's not for the public that I don't want to speak against my mother. It's for my own sake. I want to be in peace with myself. My mother has a right to say anything she wants, pro or against me.
The root of the trouble was money. When it was not forthcoming, Evangelia Callas applied pressure.
Well, I mean, she says, you either give me this and that, otherwise I'll plaster against all the newspapers, and that she did. She used blackmail, unfortunately, and I don't like blackmail by anybody.
In addition to her problems with her mother, Callas was enraged to find that her sister Jackie started voice lessons and had singing aspirations of her own. Though Jackie Callas had a substantial voice, she lacked her sister's musicality and her drive. And Jackie's ambition as a professional singer faded after losing a talent contest in Italy. Later, however, she did give some concerts in Athens. At La Scala, things were not going well for Callas. Its public was becoming more aggressive and less willing to tolerate the emerging flaws in her voice. Many thought the growing unsteadiness in her upper register was the result of her extreme weight loss. But Callas's top notes had been unruly long before she slimmed down. A more plausible explanation was that Callas had put greater demands on her voice than it could comfortably bear. The first signs of difficulty showed in her top register, which began to wobble out of control. In a performance of the Barber of Seville at La Scala, Callas entered the lesson scene on a strident, unsteady high note. The audience was well behaved, until the tenor's line, Bella voce, what a beautiful voice. That was more than the anti-Callas faction was willing to bear. Walter Legg, Callas's longtime recording producer, told a British radio interviewer about another anti-Callas demonstration at La Scala.
It was the habit of her fans to occupy the seats in the gallery nearest to the stage, and when she took her curtain calls at the end of the opera, to shower her with small bouquets. The fans of a rival soprano decided they would disturb this. So they had bunches of radishes and bunches of carrots and other small vegetables. They got there earlier than the Callas fans, occupied the seats nearest to the proscenium arch. And instead of Callas getting her usual shower of bouquets, she got a shower of vegetables and, of course, some bouquets from her own fans. She is very short-sighted. And she walked down, picked up each of these offerings from the floor, sniffed them. The vegetables were dropped into the orchestra. The flowers were handed to her colleagues. It was one of the supreme examples of absolute sovereignty of the stage and quickness of thinking I've ever known.
But there were great successes at Scala to counterbalance the failures. In 1957, Callas triumphed in a new production of Verdi's Un ballo in maschera with tenor Giuseppe Di Stefano.
Come a lungo infelice lontano
Considering what Callas and Di Stefano would later mean to one another, it is ironic that they were often adversaries. Callas's record producer, Walter Leck, who was married to soprano Elizabeth Schwarzkopf, told this story on the BBC.
I thought I found a marvellous couple, the sort of Caruso and Melba, what Caruso and Melba were at Covent Garden. And this tenor's, or his wife, found out that Callas, like my wife, is allergic to the smell of garlic, because they both get a surplus of saliva in the mouth, the very smell of garlic. So this tenor's wife started standing in the wings, and before every love duet or every embrace, the tenor walked to the wings, stretched out a hand, took 4 or 5 pieces of garlic, shoved them in his mouth, chewed them.
Oh, you're joking.
And then embraced Callas, who could not get rid of the surplus saliva that she got in her mouth.
Oh, no.
The same season brought a now historic revival of Anna Bolena, directed by Visconti and starring Callas in the title role, with Giulietta Simeonato as Jane Seymour. Her Scala triumphs were the calm before the major storm in her career. Callas was engaged to open the 1958 opera season in Rome for a gala performance of Norma to be performed in the presence of the President of Italy, Giovanni Gronchi. Callas had caught a cold during the rehearsal period, which became progressively worse. As the opening night approached, Callas, who rarely canceled performances, felt she would have to bow out.
I told him I'm not well. Now something might come wrong. Who is my double? Nobody can double Callas. Oh, I said to San Paoli, I said, look, Guido. And I knew him since ages, because he had heard me since I was first coaching with Serafin in 47. I said, look, Guido, let's look facts in the face. After tomorrow is a performance, and it's an opening night, and you have the president. If I get sick, who will? He says, nobody can double Callas. All right. So you take the responsibility of saying, Callas was sick, and we will not substitute her. I was sick. I could not continue, because if I was well, I would have continued, and I was spit in their faces of my enemies, because I don't like it. But if I am attacked, I must defend myself. And if I can make my enemies I would not kill them, but if I could make them go on their knees in front of me, I can, I will, and I must.
From her singing of Norma's Casta Diva, it was obvious that Callas was in uncertain voice. At the end of the first act, an announcement was made from the stage that the rest of the performance would have to be cancelled.
Per causa di forza maggiore la rappresentazione è sospesa.
Il comunicato dice per cause di forza maggiore la rappresentazione è sospesa. Come gli ascoltatori possono udire, il pubblico...
Next morning, the headlines proclaimed Callas walks out on the President of Italy. She sued the Rome Opera to clear her name, but it took a decade before there was a judgment in her favor. By then, the Rome walkout had become part of the Callas myth.